Lynn Hastings, welcome to 7:30.
Thanks very much for having me.
Now, we've seen convoys of aid trucks entering Gaza, but how would you be able to just describe how serious the need is for civilians in Gaza right now?
Okay, I'll just give you a few statistics, which should paint a picture. We have 1.4 million people who are displaced in a very, very small area. 600,000 people are sheltering in UN facilities, which are at 2.5 times the capacity. Sanitation is now blocked. We expect sewage to start flowing onto the streets. Hospitals are being used as shelters for displaced persons as well. We've got 50,000 pregnant women. 5,000 of them are due to deliver within the next 30 days. Surgeries are happening without anesthesia, and water production capacity is at 5% of what it should be. Also, the number of commodities coming into Gaza is less than 4% of what it was before October 7th.
So let's just understand what this means on a day-to-day basis. How much water, how much fuel is actually left in Gaza?
Okay. We estimate that there's approximately 400,000 liters left in Gaza. And just to put that, just to put that into perspective for your listeners, we estimate that just for our operations, some of the hospitals and the desal plants need 100,000 liters a day. So we're looking at a couple of days left if we can access that fuel, because it's currently stored. And as you know, there's bombardments, etc. And so we have to be very careful to be able to bring that fuel out. In terms of water, we are urging the government of Israel to turn back on both the water and the electricity pipelines. Right now, there's only one pipeline that is barely running. It means that many people in the UN shelters are down to 1 liter of water a day. The global estimate for what is necessary to sustain human life is 3 liters a day. So, as I say, urging the government of Israel to turn back on the electricity and the pipelines, and most importantly, to let fuel in.
We'll come to the fuel. We'll come to the fuel in a moment. But can you explain why more of those trucks in the convoys are not getting through? Because we can see that there's a great deal of aid backed up in Egypt, in particular.
Yeah. So Israel has concerns, legitimate concerns, obviously, about the security of materials going in, and they want to make sure that the trucks are going in have aid that is delivered to people in need, quite rightly. That is our objective as well. At the moment, though, the process is extremely slow in terms of the verification of goods. We are trying to work with the government of Israel to increase the pace of that so more of those trucks can go in. We weren't able to get trucks in yesterday at all because of some delays in terms of the verification process. So really, if those trucks go in today, plus another 20, we're looking at a total of 94 trucks having gone in since supplies started moving last Saturday. As I said, this is less than 4% of what was going into Gaza before October 7th. And I need to remind everybody that number was already under very, very severe restrictions in terms of what could go into Gaza.
Now, the Israelis have made it clear that they don't want fuel getting into Gaza because it could fall into the hands of Hamas. How do you overcome that?
Yeah. So we have been working with the government of Israel for well over a decade to provide fuel to either UN agencies or hospitals, etc., that need it in a secure manner. So we are working with the government of Israel to try and do that again and to continue to bring in the fuel in, as I say, a secure manner. We will be able to confirm who the fuel is distributed to, which, as I say, UN operations, hospitals, desalination plants, sanitation. So there is drinking water. And also so the UN can carry out its operations.
Now, apart from the large number of civilian casualties, are you also starting to see health issues with people because of the water and sanitation conditions?
Yes, absolutely. So we are starting to see, for example, skin diseases. We're very concerned, obviously, about diarrhea, cholera, waterborne diseases, those sorts of things. And as I said at the outset, What we are seeing now is the sanitation is building up, and we are expecting sewerage. This is going to cause a medical health crisis, a public health crisis.
Now, obviously the UN is calling for a ceasefire, but that is effectively asking Israel to go back to the status quo before the horrific attacks on Israel. Is that a realistic request of the Israelis right now?
Yeah, so what we're asking for is a humanitarian ceasefire, or a pause, if you will. And this is something that is done globally in conflicts around the world. It allows humanitarians to safely distribute aid. So whether or not it's going to pick up the remaining fuel for the next day or two, or whether or not it's being able to safely distribute. We have staff who are distributing right now without a pause. Their lives are at danger. 35 of them have already been killed, but it is a very realistic request to ask Israel to ensure that there is no bombardment where and when our staff are delivering humanitarian assistance.
And just briefly, you mentioned that people were living in conditions that way above capacity in the homes. Is there an option to build more refugee living quarters in the south, west of Khan Yunis?
Yeah, so not at the moment. A, because of the bombardment, and B, because we're not even looking at bringing in shelter supplies right now. We need fuel, water, food, medicines, and then we can look at shelter. But again, we need an increased number of trucks going in on a consistent daily basis.
Lynn Hastings, thank you very much indeed for joining us this evening.
Thanks so much.